Welcome back to the Readiness channel. Today's video is going to be similar to a man trying to dance through a minefield, and that's because we're talking about tools and products that can help in the fight against coronaviruses. There's probably no other single topic in our current days right now that is more likely to incite argument and a whole variety of opinions and passions than this topic. First, let me give my disclaimer. To be clear, I am not a doctor. I am not providing you with any medical advice. I'm not telling you or suggesting to anybody what they should be doing or taking through this time. I'm simply going to share with you things that I'm doing based on research that I've done, listening to medical professionals that I believe are credible, and believing that some of these things might be of some value to us in this tumultuous time. Let's get started. I think by now most of us would agree there's not any magic bullets out there that is going to eradicate this virus from spreading around the globe. This video is not about arguing about COVID and political trash and some of the nonsense that's going on, in the world today surrounding it. What we're trying to do today is simply look at this through the lens of emergency preparedness and talk about some things that can help you and your family in the battle against COVID and some strategies that might be helpful for you. I'm going to provide some links down below in this video so that you can look at some of those medical opinions as well. Make your own decisions. Never take anything without consulting with your doctor first. Even over-the-counter vitamins and minerals and other medications can have dangerous contradictions with other medications that you may be on, and also there's a lot of loose advice going around all the time about how much of these things you should take. I've listened to a lot of medical opinion about vitamins like vitamin D and zinc and their usefulness in the battle against COVID. There does seem to be a lot of positive information out there from multiple doctors suggesting that vitamin D and zinc can be very useful in the battle against COVID. The link that I'm going to provide down below from a medical doctor giving a lecture about vitamin D and zinc and some other things that we're going to discuss in this video will provide more information from a professional standpoint about how these things might be useful for you in this fight. Zinc has been being used for a long time with common colds. There's lozenges and many products out there that we've all used for years against common viruses that go around every year. It seems as though zinc taken at certain times seems to be more beneficial, or at least in reducing the longevity or severity of some of these colds and illnesses. I know that I personally have used zinc and zinc lozenges at the onset of common colds, and I have found personally that it is very effective in battling against these things as far as duration and severity of the infection that I get. While doing research on zinc, I've learned that many medical experts consider 40 milligrams a day about the maximum amount that they suggest taking. There are different opinions about this, and again, do your own research, talk to your own doctor about what's right for you. I mention this because a lot of these zinc tablets that you find in the stores are 50 milligrams or higher per tablet. If 40 milligrams is a threshold of what most people can tolerate without experiencing some nausea or other negative side effects, then you might want to look for something like I found here that is 30 milligrams. Although the debate about the value of taking vitamin C against colds, flus, and other viruses rages on, I think most of us know that Mom was right. Using vitamin C has been useful in our household. We have a family member that teaches in an elementary school setting, so believe me, every year the colds and flus and things that go around are a very real battle that we have to shore up against in our home. We have found that using these things, vitamin D, zinc, and vitamin C, have been very useful in defending against these things as well as reducing the severity of them should you get sick. Now let's take a look at another product that is controversial at minimum in today's world. However, masks, I believe, have a lot of usefulness. Before COVID, before the debates and mandates and the arguments and everything that goes on today about a simple tool like this, I think many of us would agree that they were useful to be worn if you were working on something in your garage that was creating a lot of fine dust. just a whole myriad of situations where we all reached and used these things. In the climate that we're in today, I believe that there are certainly times when putting a mask on is just a wise decision. We're not arguing about mandates and other political issues involving masks. We're talking about the usefulness of a tool right now. We recently took a trip to a crowded theme park where we were in very densely populated queues with a lot of other people, and much of it indoors. I took a mask with me in that environment. I had no problem doing that whatsoever, not because I was being told to by anybody, because it was my choice to use a tool like this in an environment where I would be around thousands of people, and the likelihood of somebody passing something on in that environment I knew increased greatly. Having said all that, the mask that I chose was an N95 mask. I believe that we need to get past maybe some of the argument about masks and talk about what type of mask you're going to use in a high-risk environment like we were in. The N95 mask is proven to provide greater protection than a cloth mask or a paper mask and some of these other things that I see people wear today. One medical expert described it as trying to filter a virus through a cloth mask was similar to trying to filter dust through a chain link fence. An exaggeration, yes, but it gives you the idea of what the difference can be between some of the masks that people wear and a quality N95 mask. Do your own research on this, and as I said, try to forget the argument and the political temperature that we're dealing with on this right now, and look at it through a common sense basis and ask yourself, should these be included in my arsenal of emergency gear? And while we're on the topic of masks or exposure through our nose, sinuses, or mouth possibly, I think another useful tool to look at in your arsenal against colds, flus, and coronaviruses in general is nasal irrigation. Some of these products are available in a simple spray can that you can use and just blast your sinuses out with some simple saline solution. There are products like this that you can buy in many drugstores that they're called neti pots, where you mix up a similar saline solution and run it through your nose and sinuses. You can also buy nasal irrigation machines that I think are really the way to go. It makes that whole process much more simpler, and I think does a better job of irrigating and cleansing out your sinus cavities. Maybe if you're in a high-risk environment, you work in the medical industry, you teach kids, or you're around a lot of other people that possibly are exposing you to these things, I think maybe doing that at the end of the day is probably a useful tool. Again, consult your doctor on that and make sure that's safe and right for you. There are some people that can't use these products because of physical problems in their sinus cavities and nose area, so it's something you certainly want to talk to your doctor about and find out if that's safe. Okay, so far in the video we've been talking about things that you can employ to try to prevent from getting sick. What happens if you or your family members get sick? Here are some simple preps that I think are useful in any home to have. An air purifier with a HEPA filtration system on it is good to have. This could be very useful in a household where you have a sick family member and you're trying to keep them contained or take care of them in a specific room. These machines obviously just circulate and filter the air in a room and run it through a HEPA type filter, and it could be very useful if somebody in your home is sick. Now is a good time to look at some of your canned food storage and think about chicken broths and other types of foods that might be useful to have stockpiled in the event that you or your family get sick. Some of these broths might be what somebody consumes or eats during a severe illness for some period of time, and it may be all that they can ingest or hold down. Now's a good time to think about some of those things and whether or not you need to add to them or even add them to your home pantry. Simple electrolytes, I think, are often overlooked in any preparedness plan, but they have a multiple range of usefulness to us. We use these things in the summertime. We put them in our hydro packs when we go out hiking or spending time outdoors. They certainly could be useful if somebody was sick in your home in a time where dehydration and other issues become a problem when somebody's ill. Simple electrolyte powders like this could be a very useful thing to add into your preparedness gear. I think most of us have a thermometer in our home, but if you don't have one of these, think about adding one to your gear. Obviously, simple instruments like this are very useful for you to be able to know what's going on with you or somebody in your household. And I think another important tool that we can add to our home first aid gear and preps is a simple pulse oximeter. This is that tool, no, not the thing in Doc Brown's time machine. This is that tool that you add on your finger when you go to the doctor's office, and it gives them a readout of your blood oxygen saturation level. These things can be purchased relatively inexpensively. I would suggest, if you're going to buy one, to not buy the cheapest one that you can find in the big box store. I did learn by doing a little research online about these things that some of these are FDA approved, have been tested and are approved and considered accurate and useful in a medical environment. The one that I purchased here is exactly that, and I think it was around $45 online. What is one of the more important reasons that we want to add a pulse oximeter to our first aid gear in the battle against COVID? During the onset of the virus, many doctors were reporting a syndrome that they were calling happy hypoxia, and it was people that were coming into the hospital that were short on blood oxygen saturation, which is what this tool measures, and it was giving them kind of that happy euphoric feeling, and they weren't making good judgments about the severity of their situation. So if somebody in my household gets COVID, this will be a tool that I will use to see what danger zone that we're in and maybe make a sound decision about whether or not that person needs to get professional medical care. One of the complexities with people that catch COVID is some people have pretty minimal symptoms. They might feel like they have a cold or a flu, while others get a severe pneumonia type infection in their lungs and puts them in a real dangerous situation. This simple tool right here can help you monitor and read that with yourself or a loved one in your home to see if you're slipping into a situation where immediate medical care should be sought. Additionally, some of the warnings that I want to discuss about these things are, obviously, if you buy a real cheap model from some of the big box stores, you're probably not going to get real accurate readings. Another issue with these are people that have fingernail polish of different colors and gel coats, those kinds of things could give a false reading. So I'm not suggesting that a home pulse oximeter be used in place of professional medical evaluation. It's simply just another tool like a home thermometer that we can use to give us some idea of the situation that we're dealing with you or a loved one should they become ill. It's my full belief personally, and after many years of being a first responder, that we always want to err on the side of caution when you're dealing with a medical situation. Don't try to play doctor. Most of us have no training or experience in professional medical diagnoses or practices. These simple tools that I'm talking about here can give us some indication of whether or not we're entering into a concerning illness with somebody and need to seek that medical attention. But if you have any doubts, seek professional medical help. It might just save you or somebody else's life. Do you have some alcohol and hydrogen peroxide in your stockpiles at home? Do you keep hand cleaner, cotton balls, and emergency gloves on standby to use? What about hand wipes and sanitizers, as well as cleaning chemicals and sanitizing chemicals that should be a part of anybody's emergency preparedness plan? Hey, thanks for watching today's video. You know, I think it's important that we keep our heads screwed on straight in the realm of emergency preparedness especially, and think about our preps and tools and equipment that we have in our homes to face a variety of emergencies, even COVID. If you like the information that we provide in today's video, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below. That helps us out building the channel. And as always, remember, get ready so that you and your family can succeed and thrive. We know that COVID is attacked. Understand.